Hello YouTube and welcome to another exciting edition of Vim in slow motion. Today we're going to talk about macros. So let's dig in. So what's a macro? A macro is simply a means of registering, recording actions or repeating actions. So in Vim, the idea of Vim is to do as minimum typing as possible. So macros really help and they are very effective. I use macros almost every single time I am editing my document, because you don't repeat yourself. It helps with the dry principle. So the here's the challenge. The challenge is we want to remove all these. We want to make this into something like delete this and do this. We want to make every single one of them like that. So I'm going to try this with gedit. So I'm going to just copy this 10 more times, right? And then try it with gedit. So I'm typing gedit. I'm running a Linux command, gedit test.py. So it's now going to open this. Okay, sorry, I didn't save this. Right, so do that again. Gedit, great. So doing this with gedit is you delete this, you go down, do that, and remember it's definitely error prone, so I may delete it. Oh boy. Okay, so I may delete the wrong ones, and obviously I'm not too fast with the keyboard, but remember the task has a repetitive pattern. So oops, sorry. Oh boy. Alright, delete them. Okay, delete this. Oops. Okay, delete. Right, as you can see, it's clearly a frustrating process to do. And imagine if this were to be like the entire Linux code base, and you want to do something like this. Great. So I've been able to do this with gedit. Now let's see how we'll do that with Vim. But with Vim we would step it up. We would say we want to do that on 20,000 lines. 20,000 lines. And I'm choosing that large number for a reason. And as you can see here, we have 20,000 new lines, and you can scroll to, let's say, the 10,000th line, right? So you get the idea. So now, how are you going to do this 20,000 lines with gedit? Yeah. So if you could put this as a punishment. I mean, you could give someone this just as a sentence. This is actually a sentence. I mean, if you're trying this is you're actually sentencing yourself. So how do you do this? But how do you get the job done? I mean, how do you get the job done with them? So this is where macros come in handy. So with macros, what we can simply say is you're going to record your action, and you record it into any of the registers. So you have any alphanumeric register, so you can record it on A to Z, capital, small, numbers, what have you. So there are literally tens of registers you can record this. So usually what I do is I record it on Q. So because Q is actually the register that is actually the key that is used to record a macro. So I just, instead of moving my hands around, I just say record it on Q. Okay, so you say QQ. Usually what I do is I try to clear the register. So so I say QQQ. So this is how you clear a register. You just record yourself doing nothing and you record over there, so that the register is now cleared. Next is to perform the action just once, and the computer can remember. So what we'll do is I have to move to the beginning of the line, which is very important when you're using macros, because your cursor, the macros are performed relative to the position of the cursor. So if you are not too sure the relative position of the cursor, you're not too sure the relative position of the elements you want to change, so it's best to start from either the beginning or the end. I usually like starting from the beginning. So you go, there's a caret sign, that's shift 6, and then you go to where you want to change, which is the first square bracket. So you say forward to the square bracket, that's F square bracket. Then you go in, you delete what you perform, what you want to perform. You delete, you can say delete, that's XX, small x. And then I have a plugin which is called surround. And with surround, you can delete the surrounding quotes, delete the surrounding whatever is surrounding the particular element. So I want to delete the surrounding square bracket, so it's going to be DS square bracket. So I've deleted the surrounding square bracket. Then I move down, and then I quit the recording, which I press Q again. So now with this, I have recorded myself performing this action just once. Now I don't need to do it again. I have to tell Vim to play back the action that I performed in the previous, from whichever register. So the idea here, since you have several registers, you can perform different macros on different registers and then merge them, and you can even call macro within macro. And very importantly, as you see later, you can do a recursive macro. So I'm going to say R repeats. So that's Q. I just said repeat the action I performed in Q, or repeat the Q macro, and it's performed it. So if I do shift Q again, shift Q again, at Q, now it's becoming less error prone, right? So it's just performing the action correctly. Now remember last time we talked about Vim having the concept of numbers. So we can now say that Vim should perform this action 20,000 times. And remember, the 20,000 times is because of how we recorded it. So the key is you always have to move down to the next line, the next raw line. So when you perform it in a raw line, for instance, like so, you do it, you notice that it brings it down to the next raw line. So I can say 20,000, 20, 1, 2, 3 at Q, and boom, it works like Vim. I will not say magic, it works like Vim. Now I don't have to touch the keyboard again. In fact, at this point I can go have lunch or breakfast and come back and just watch where it is. Now imagine you to do this with gedit. or some other text editor. It is very, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. This is the concept of Vim. Vim is simply states, let the computer do what it is good at doing, and you face just your editing. So at this point, you get the idea. It performs this action, and for instance, imagine you have another macro where you you know, picking things from other documents and editing things. So what you could do is, like a developer, what some developers do, or most developers do, is copying and pasting. So you can actually create a smart macro that can auto code for you. That's really amazing. Just with Vim, no fancy plugins, no fancy, just with pure macros. Record yourself doing an action, and I'm just going to let this continue to the end of the video. Record yourself doing an action, and you are done. Now, in our next video, we'll look at how to merge macros, but right now what we're going to do is, I'm just going to talk quickly about recursive macros, because with this approach you have a number and you have the macro. But what if you don't know the number? What if you don't have an idea of the number of lines that you're dealing with? And so how do you go about doing that? So that's where you do recursive macro. Although recursive macros have a downside, because one, it may affect areas where you don't want to touch. Again, you can have selections. You could use selections. I mean, with Vim, you could use the entire tool set together to get an awesome result. So thank you for watching this video, and check out our next video.